All right, Shalom. You reached the He Prayed channel. And my name is Isaac Mawar. First and foremost, I want to say call Halalim, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Harakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, 7:13:19, where I learned this truth from, and who ruled well. Salutations to the Bakiyar, the elect, the 144,000. That's 12,000 men from each of the 12 tribes of Israel. The 12 tribes of Israel consist of you so-called blacks, Latinos, and indigenous of America. The 144,000 being the governing body within the one-third. The rest of the one-third comprises of elect men, women, and children. Shalom to those Israelites scattered due to the diaspora and also the triangular trade. So our people come looking like different ethnicities, having various complexions. So it's not a black thing. We're not the black Hebrew Israelites. We're just Hebrew Israelites. Shalom to those that died in this truth. It says the dead should be raised up first. Those that will be accompanying Yahweh Shah on his return, including our King, King Mashah, who is King David. And as always, it's an honor and privilege, honor and blessing to continue to do this work. The water Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah for answering my prayers and permitting me to do such. Baba Kushal Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah allowed us to be an edifying video to at least one member of the elect.
Today marks a financial milestone as the last penny was minted in Philadelphia. President Donald Trump ordered the nation to stop producing the coin, saying each 1-cent coin cost nearly 4 cents to create. The penny will remain legal tender, and other U.S. coins will continue to be produced. Although consumers may not think this is a big deal, many businesses will now have to round up their prices as a result. Another consequence of dropping the penny is that there will likely be a greater need for nickels, which are more expensive to mint.
So I want to go into this word real quick, which is gradualism. It says a gradual method of action, right? And when you come to understand Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah, he deals with measures, which this is 2nd Ezra, chapter 4, verse 37. It says, by measure have he measured the times, and by number have he numbered the times, and he doeth not move nor stir them until the said measure be fulfilled. So within those measures, there's certain signs, there's certain prophecies, to allow you to forecast that there's rain coming, right? Let me see if I can find this scripture. It was in my mind. Precept. This is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 12, verse 2. And then I'm going to jump down to verse 10. It says, therefore chastenest thou them by little, and little that offend, and warnest them by putting them in remembrance wherein they have offended, and leaving their wickedness, they may believe on thee, O Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. But the point that I'm trying to make and convey is, therefore chastenest thou them by little and little, because with this transition to this new system, is mainly going to affect you Israelites, man. As it says, this is the time of Jacob's trouble, and it warns of an hour of temptation, which that hour of temptation solely affects you Israelites, because among you Israelites, only the chosen, the predestined, the elect will be saved, right? So when you see these things, if you have a spiritual mind, if you have discernment, you can see, oh shit, he's getting rid of the penny because of, the expense of his manufacturing. And then they just said the nickel costs even more. So as soon as it's going to be all physical money, well, we'll just go paperless, like the push that we had informed these companies to do. Uh, Let me see, when was the says the term going paperless has been discussed since at least 1975. So this is looks like pages, right? Says the history of the microchip, how a tiny device changed the world. Because how would they concoct in their mind to go paperless in 1975, right? Um, Trying to get to the point. So this is a microchip history timeline of major advancements. The microchip history timeline offers a glimpse into the ongoing journey of innovation and technological advancement. Each milestone in microchip technology has not only revolutionized electronics, but also significantly shaped our daily lives in the digital world at large, reminding us that this story of progress is far from over. 1947, invention of the transit, transistor, a key precursor to the microchip. The transistor was invented at Bell Labs. This marked a significant shift from vacuum tube technology, paving the way for miniaturization in electronics. 1958, Jack Kilby's integrated circuit. Jack Kilby at Texas Instruments created the first integrated circuit, a breakthrough that laid the foundation for modern microchips. 1959, Robert Noyce, monolithic integrated circuit. Robert Noyce, co-founder of Fairchild Semiconductor and later Intel, independently invented a more practical version of the integrated circuit, which allowed for mass production. 1961 to 1965, NASA's adaptation of microchips. NASA became a key early adopter of microchip technology, significantly driving its development and reliability. 1971, introduction of the Intel 4004. The Intel 4004, the world's first commercially available microprocessor, was introduced, revolutionizing computing by integrating an entire CPU on a single chip. So in between 1971 and 1984, people are already coming with the thought of going paperless. The term going paperless has been discussed since at least 1975, with predictions about the future of office work being made in that year. The concept gained more prominence with the introduction of personal computers in the 1980s, leading to the idea of a paperless office. However, despite these predictions, the actual transition to paperless environment has been slow, with many still using paper in their daily lives and work processes, which all that is about to change, right? Because now, let's go back to the history. 1948 says the Adidas Micropacer, the release of the Adidas Micropacer, the first shoe to incorporate a microchip, showcasing the microchip's versatility beyond traditional computing. Late 20th century, rapid advancement in miniaturization. The microchip industry saw exponential growth with rapid advancement in miniaturization and power efficiency, leading to the proliferation of microchips in a wide array of devices. 1998, it says the first discussion about implantable microchips occurred in 1998 when British scientist Kevin Warwick conducted the first experiments with the radio frequency identification implant. This implant allowed him to interact with electronic systems in his environment, marking a significant step in the exploration of human-machine integration. 21st century, microchips in everyday life. Microchips became ambiguous, powering everything from smartphones to critical infrastructure, and became central to global economics and geopolitics. So going back to the word gradualism in Etma Online, it says a gradual method of action. Let me see. Going to the word gradual, the root word, it says early 15th century, having steps. So having steps of actions, having a set of steps of action. So this has been around for a long time, you know. Um, And now it's speaking loud and clear. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 12 and verse 10, it says, and by executing thy judgments upon them by little and little, so that's how Yahweh Shem Shah works, man. Through gradualism. He has a set method, on how he wants things to be done in the fulfillment of these prophecies. So now we're coming at the time in which now Esau is being instructed through the left-hand side of Yahweh Shem Shah to uh, proceed, with this MOTB. And it's no coincidence that, everyone has to reapply for SNAP and social services, man, on a brand new spanking system. It says, thou gavest them place of repentance. So when everything was all good, just a week ago, right? Nobody cared about this truth. Nobody cared about Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, And when the doors are officially closed, you passed up your time for you to get yourself together, man. To turn back from your wickedness. It says, not being ignorant that they were a naughty generation. And it speaks about this particular generation as being a wicked and an adulterous generation. It says in that their malice, which goes into hatred. Let's just confirm. Malice, 13th century, desire to hurt another, propensity to inflict injury or suffering, active ill will. What's the second law? To love your neighbor as you will love yourself. But with our people, they don't have that spirit on them right now because they're under the curses. They're under the bans. It says, was bred in them. Let's look up that word, bred. Which bred, adjective, reared or brought up, 1650s. So if it was bred in us, how was it bred in us? Through the prince of the power of the air, which is Esau, working through the spiritual demon Satan to influence certain, things for our people to follow, the fruit of lies, to mimic the ways and manners of these heathen nations that are contrary to the order in which Yahweh Shem Yahushua has set us to walk in. It says, and that their cognition would never be changed. Cogitation. So let's look up that word, cogitation. Cogitation is 12th century cogitation, thought, idea, notion, that which is thought out, act of thinking. Their act of thinking, it says, would never be changed. Why? Because they were blocked. And that's why this truth is only for the elect. Those are the ones that are going to be predestined to sigh and cry. But these people, they're not sighing and crying until it's too late, man. Because why? Currently, these commodities, these also in the scriptures, which I'm gonna get now, these victuals are cheap. But now, everything is getting more expensive, man. You're spending $15 roughly on five, skinless chicken breasts. Or, you're spending $50 on three New York strip steaks. And I haven't seen the prices on uh what did they call it, pescarian diet or fish, you know, but things are getting more and more expensive. And now people are starting to worry. This is Second Ezra chapter 16, verse 21. It says, "Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth." So going to that word victual, which is 13th century Vata'ali food. Let's see if it uh, food and drink, a stock of food and drink for warfare or travel, food for humans, nourishment, provisions. But what has been going on, man, has been inflation, man. So things is going up, man. And I don't even, being on this diet that I'm on, I don't even look at things in the non-meat aisles the same way, So that's just from consistency that led to discipline, right? But even that, the meat has gone up, shot through the roof. It says that they shall think themselves to be in good case, and those days are over, man. As each and every year has passed, the next year has been worse than the previous. It says, and even then shall evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion, right? And there is great confusion. As Esau, he's doing his thing, as these false prophets, they're doing their thing, and it's a big, putrid pot of gumbo. They don't know how to define a woman. You know, you got to look 4 or 5 times and make sure you got somebody's gender correct. And then they don't have the truth. The big thing is they don't have the truth. And they taught the world lies, you know? And when you go into the New Testament, that's exactly what you people were going to be believing in, which is lies. It says, for many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine. So a lot of you're going to be destroyed because of the spirit of famine, man. Which is a spirit. When you go into the book of Sirach, so a lot of you're not going to be able to feed your families. You're not going to be able to feed your kids. A lot of you're going to be cold through what Esau is doing on the left-hand side through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua, because you're not of the elect. It says, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. Right? So Just so say you have an ample supply of food. Who's to say someone's not going to get the intel and make a move on you, man? And they're desperate, or they're a group that is well trained, heavily armed, and real vicious. And as the scriptures say, the day of Yahweh Shem Yahushua is going to happen as a thief in the night, man. When you people least expect it. But we already see it, man. We see it, we starting to see the boil, the bubbling. This is First Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 2. It says, "For yourselves know perfectly that the day of Yahweh Shai so cometh as a thief in the night." It doesn't necessarily mean the exact day when the missiles hit. It means the whole entire of his judgment. Because the missiles is just the cherry on top, man. That's just like the final blow. It says, "And the dead shall be cast out as shit, and there shall be no man to comfort them, no one to bury them. For the earth shall be wasted, and the city shall be cast down." Because of the civil war that's going to take place. When everyone finds out that they ain't got no money no more. And the blame is you Jakes. So let's go to Revelation chapter 13. Let's see, this is a co-pilot, by the way. Start where it says, this is Revelation chapter 13, verse 16. It says, "And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond." So it doesn't matter who you are, man, how rich you are, how poor you are, if you're free to roam or if you're locked up. It says, "And he causeth all," right? Let's look up the word causeth.
Strong's G 4160, poieo, poieo.
Which the first says to make. He causes, he makes all. Non, to make one do something. So he's going to make one do something, right? And what's that? He's going to make you get this chip, the microchip. And your option is yes or no. It says, "And to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads," right? Because even dealing with Elon Musk and Neuralink, they have brain interfaces that people can receive. But, just for edification, the word mark.
Strong's G 5480, charagma,
Which basically means, um, you could say imprinted, but more so a scratch or etching, you know, because they're going to have to pierce your epidermis, your skin.
Strong's G 5482. Charax. Charax.
Which is a sharp point, right? That looks like a pale or steak, a steak that, you would try to stab a vampire in the heart or whatever. That sharp wooden instrument. Or you can go, if you live more so maybe in the ritzy area, they might have palisade fencing, and it's like a sharp point. That's uh that's the needle. That's why you can go to a tattoo shop and get a microchip implant, right?
Strong's G 1125. Grafo. Grafo.
So once you get that implant, that microchip has all your information on it. Your license, your driving record, your medical record, who you are, your passport, your money, right? Which goes into the word grapho, which means to fill with writing, with that information, that data or data, that is linked to a database on a cloud, right? So going to Copilot says this is a prophetic warning about a global system of control, which is Esau's New World Order, which, they have different terms: Great Reset, so on and so forth, Fourth Industrial Revolution, economic, biometric, and digital. Buy or sell equals economic transactions, meaning access to goods and services is conditional. Mark equals charagma in Greek, meaning a physical imprint or engraving, interpreted by GMS as RFID microchip technology. Forehead or hand equals location of biometric or chip implantation. Um, so Revelation chapter 14, verse 9. So there's going to be, judgment if you get the mark. So it says doom for worshipers of the beast, which we know the beast being Esau's or the Western society, going into NATO and the EU, the EEC, I believe it is the economic, the economic community, something. But Revelation chapter 14, verse 9, it says, and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is that thermonuclear destruction, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, his righteous anger, and he shall be tormented. And when you go into that word tormented, oh no, never mind. It's the next verse. Slakia. And he should be tormented with fire and brimstone, which is that nuclear destruction. That fire is that nuclear fire. The brimstone is the radiation, you know, which causes contamination. It says, in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb, which the Lamb, he's Yahweh Shai, who the world inly calls Jesus Christ, which the letter J is only 500 years old. Verse 11, it says, in the smoke of their torment ascended up forever and ever, right? Dealing with America being on fire, that nuclear flame is going to be, it's going to take a long time for it to be distinguished or extinguished, Salakia. It says, and they have no rest day nor night, which this is dealing with that social credit system, where your chip can be shut off, or you could lose your funds, or you got sores, because they're gonna put hell on you people, man. It's no different than putting an animal in a cage and, poking at it. That's how they're gonna treat you. You got a glimpse of that, certain movies like I think it's called Running Out of Time with Timberlake, or you can look at how I believe not all of them, but the majority of the provinces in China are running a social credit scoring system that America also is trying to adapt, right? It says, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name, right? And just to prove it, I'll go into the word rest. And let me see. I think it's the root word.
Strong's G 373. Anapao. Anapao.
It says to cause or permit one to cease from any movement or labor in order to recollect, Slaki, in order to recover and collect his strength. Let's see. Because if you can't, if you're not able to, and also another root.
Strong's G 3973. Power. Power.
To restrain a thing or person from something. You know? So if they tell you, you reach your monthly allotment for something, they could shut it off. They could turn it off and prevent you from doing something. Second Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3, which goes into Esau. This is Second Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3. It says, let no man deceive you by any means. And this is exactly what they're going to do. They're going to do PR campaigns. They're going to have, your favorite celebrity, your idol, on the screen, encouraging you to follow the trend, like most of you people do, follow all the trends, right? For that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, which really the scripture is dealing with what happened 2,000 years ago. They thought since Yahweh Shah was on the scene then that the kingdom of heaven was going to be ushered in then. But they didn't understand that there had to be a falling away first, meaning Israel had to lose their identity. I just wanted to emphasize, let no man deceive you by any means, right? Because that's a recurring admonition throughout the scriptures. Let no man deceive you, right? It says, in that man of sin, which is Esau, be revealed the son of perdition, which means destruction. Because Esau, the Edomites, they're going to be destroyed. It says, who opposeth and exalted himself above all that is called God or that is worshiped. And that's how he operates on, the world stage. So that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Let's see. So it says, let's see what co-pilot says. It says, man of sin sits in the temple, showing himself a God, system of control. Right. Also going back to the historical figure Nimrod and his attempts to establish a new world order. It says Daniel 7, which a lot of Daniel 7 happened between the Greek Empire and the Roman. But Daniel chapter 7, verse 25, and also dealing with those kingdoms of the Roman Empire. But this is Daniel chapter 7, verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High. Now, this is a tyrannical figure, which there's no new thing under the sun. So these tyrannical figures come back into their lots, right? And, they're back here today and they're going to do the same thing. So they're setting the stage, for you Jakes to be, severely more than decimated. More than decimated. It says, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time, which is 350 years, which co-pilot says policy shifts toward digital control. Apocrypha 10 and 8. Yeah, that's a good one. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 10, verse 8. It says, pride is hateful before the Most High and man. Right. That's, one of the top things I can't stand is a proud ass fucking nigga, man. Or even a proud bitch. Or even a fucking proud ass kid. What you gotta be proud for, man? We in hell. We in purgatory. It says, and by both doeth one commit iniquity. because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit. And the main proud individual on this planet is Esau, man. And he got his riches by deceit, man. And when you inform him about his track record, that's when he gets defensive. That's when he wants replacement theology. That's when he wants, no, I don't think that's the word. It's called something else. It's pretty much what they're trying to do with the history, man. Let me see if I can replace theory. Um, that ain't what I'm looking for. It's a term that people use. Let me see if I whitewashing. Is it critical race theory? Mm. Well, I mean, shit. For lack of better terms, I'll just say whitewashing history. But there's another term. I just can't think of it right now. Uh, Maybe it's not the Yahweh Shem Shah's will. Maybe whitewashing would be sufficient. But going back to Sirach chapter 10, verse 8, it says the kingdom is translated from one people from the Edomites, right, to another, which is going to be the Israelites. So it's going to be a change in the places, right? And we're in a time in which you Edomites, you so-called white people, are going down, and you Israelites, um, all those whose line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because our people are scattered, so they might look like these different nations, but it's about your spirit of your father. So if your line goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you're going to be the next ruler, and you're going to be the poorest of our people is going to be equivalent to the riches of this world. And there ain't going to be a damn thing these heathen nations are going to be able to do about it, I might add. So this is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2. I'm going to start at verse 10. It says, let us oppress the poor righteous man, which is you Israelites. Let us not spare the widow, nor reverence the ancient gray hairs of the aged, right? Which links up with they that are younger than I have me in derision. Let our strength be the law of justice. And they're always talking about the strong arm of the law, which they say something else, but I'm not going to say it here. They're all about the law of justice. For that which is feeble, feeble meaning to be weak, is found to be nothing worth. And that's the mind state of the Edomite, man. But the mind state of Yahweh Shai says those that are strong help those that are weak. Says, therefore, let us lie in wait for the righteous. And this is what they've been doing with you, Jakes, on all levels, because he is not for our turn. This is the time of the Gentiles, right? The heathen nations, which we're coming to its conclusion. And he is clean, contrary to our doings. Our ways are not their ways, man. We're programmed to follow after another spirit, a more pure spirit. It says he upbraideth us with our offending the law, going out there on the highways and hedges. Yahweh Ba'Shem Shah speaking through the mouth of his prophets, which those prophets are those of great millstone with the 100% doctrine. It says, and objective to our infamy, the transgressions of our education, what's been drawn out of them. What's been drawn out of these damn devils, man? Because that's what education means, what's drawn out, to draw out. Going back to Copilot, it says exposes the corrupt foundation of fiat and digital systems, going back to his unrighteous dealings. I read it wrong. It says the righteous are targeted for resisting the system. So it says why digital equals prophetic. The digital system requires the removal of physical money to enforce total surveillance and control. Once cash is gone, every transaction is traceable. So that no more side hustles, no more pawn shops, no more yard sales. I'll take that back. Maybe they will do pawn shops still, because that could be all tracked. But no secondhand, bartering, man. It says an access can be revoked based on compliance, and that's the no rest day nor night. And the reason why I say that is because your spirit is pure energy. It's a fire itself. You can't burn a fire with fire. So those that die on this side, they're not going to burn in that fire forever, man. As if it's going to be a day and night after day and night after day and night type of deal. No, that's talking about the condition that they're going to be set in for getting that MOTB. As it just, as we just read, right? It says U.S. legislation and moves toward cashless society. Digital dollar development. Major banks, Chase, Bank of America, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, are working on a stable coin-backed digital dollar, signaling a shift away from cash. Federal CBDC discussions. Bank of America analyst expects a U.S. central bank digital currency, CBDC, between 2025 and 2030. So that's right here, man. Penny phase out. And you always have to keep in mind when reading these things is this is what they think. They think that their houses are going to continue forever, but we know that once they make this MOTB mandatory, that we're going to be out of here, because the Most High is not going to keep the elect in that condition beyond those split seconds that he has uh, to send Yahweh Shai to save them. It's a penny phase out. The U.S. Mint is reportedly ending penny production, symbolizing the death of small denomination cash. Payment Choice Act 2025. Senators Fetterman, which he was in the news, and Kramer introduced this bill to protect cash payments, showing that cash is under threat and needs legislative defense. But really, who really uses cash, man? You know? So with that in mind, just think about the homeless that ask for, you got to spare this or can you spare that? The majority of the people that respond back say, I don't carry cash. I don't have any change, because everyone's using a card or everyone's using their phone. So it says GMS interpretation summary, mark equals RFID chip, digital system equals beast infrastructure, cash removal prerequisite for full control, legislation equals prophetic fulfillment in real time. And, they pass laws and enact them, right? They pass laws, then enact them before they do it. So with that, I hope at least one brother of the elect was edified. And I'm going to say shalom.